Welcome back, wrestling fans, to part 2 of the 2021 Smarkout Moment WWE Best and Worst Awards. At the end of the year here, we're going to be breaking down part 2's section called the Writing Awards. A bunch of different categories here, and you can see them on your screen if you're on YouTube. If you're not, and you're just, still listening to the audio feed, well, we'll tell you what they are anyway. So rest assured, you're perfectly fine here. You know how this goes. We're not going to give a whole rundown again just because it's a new video. You know us. Hi. We're just going to roll things along here. We're going to start with the best and the worst catchphrase or slogan of the year from WWE. We have, of course, a whole bunch of them, from the ones that are no longer going to be there anymore, like the Lucha, and Bali 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 from the Bollywood Boys, or Ever Rise Rules, or, all those kind of things. But we've also got some that are still here carrying over into 2022. It doesn't need to be something that's going to be sticking around. It could be something that's there temporarily or whatever. Maybe even something that they tried out for like 2 weeks and then they stopped doing it, which, like, for instance, Alpha Academy, I had written down that they had started to say for the Academy, and they cut that pretty quick. So best and the worst is these are one of those categories that some years there's like a standout to me, good or bad, and some other years I'm struggling to figure out some of the answers for this. I did kind of both this time around. My best, I figured the standout for me is Acknowledge Me from Roman Reigns. Out of any other slogan, I think that's the one that has gotten over the most. I think that's the one that resonates the most with me. I think it's the overall coolest, and that's my favorite. How about you guys? What's your best?
Yeah, my best would also be Acknowledge Me, because it's the one good catchphrase that stands out to me. I can't really think of anything that was said that was cooler than that. I mean, we lost That's Undisputed this year. We lost really any cool things. Even Get These Hands is no longer a thing. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Acknowledge Me.
I'm just going to go with the simple bro.
Yeah, that works.
Not really, just because I don't really like pretty much any ones that I wrote down as like potentially good ones. Like Acknowledge Me is fine, but I haven't really liked too much of Roman Reigns' run in general, so I'm not going to try and acknowledge that either. Like the Almighty of Bobby Lashley, I mean, it's fine, but it's not as good as the Hurt Business. EST, it's good, but Bianca's kind of been neutered since SummerSlam. I kind of like Big Time Bex as like her gimmick name, like the character name, but I'll just go with the simple bro.
Well, on the worst side of things, there was 2 that I was debating. Actually, kind of 3, but one of them I put a little asterisk about, like, I don't know if I'd really constitute that as bad as the other 2. But the 3 essentially that I was debating about were WrestleMania is back in business. And that's the one that I was like, I don't know if I really think that that's as bad, because I think that I'd probably pitch something like that too, just to be like cheeky about it. But the 2 that I really just didn't like were Hit Rose, If You Didn't Know, Now You Know. Because I think that's
they didn't like it either.
Like, I just thought that was lame as shit. Like, what that's supposed to catch on? If you didn't know, now you know. It sounds like it shouldn't even be a catchphrase. It's just kind of a sentence, like but somebody's kind of catchphrase to be like, well, look at that over there. Technically speaking, Saxon Huxley was there. He goes, there's Saxon Huxley. So.
So I do want to point this out, because you're not the only one that I've podcasted with that is on the fairer skinned side that didn't get a lot of the Hit Row stuff, but it's also like, yeah, but that wasn't for you.
Right.
So I got the Hit Row. If you didn't know, now you know. I got it. It wasn't necessarily for me, but I do want to acknowledge that it wasn't like a random catchphrase that's rooted in hip-hop culture and stuff.
All right. Well, it wasn't my pick anyway. That was my runner-up, because my actual, like, I had one, so I figured this out, and I was like, oh, I forgot about this. Then I was like, yeah, I got to pick this one. Ember's Law.
Ah, come on.
What was Ember's Law? She mentioned this multiple times this year, and it was all like, now I'm going to figure out the way to get back on track. And then she would lose like 9 matches. And they never established what this whole like strategy would be. Like, okay, well, this time things are going to be different. That Ember's Law means that I'm going to win a match. It was just, it meant nothing. It's the equivalent of when somebody posts those, like they share those images on Facebook, and it's like the motivational poster type things, and it's like, you know, now you can drink your wine and get through the day, and you're going to be stronger tomorrow. That kind of, and it's like, yeah, okay, well, tomorrow when you're sharing the same thing, remember what you posted yesterday. The fact that this revolved around sucking it up and turning things around and never happened, yeah, Ember's Law.
I'm going to go with, and that's official. Because as soon as he did it once, I said, oh, fuck. I was like, oh, God, they're going to do that because he's the WWE official. And they ran it into the ground this year, and I hate it.
There's a lot more options on my front for the worst one. Johnny Drip Drip. Vain attempt to try to be cool, which is just fell completely flat. The Seth Rollins laugh.
Yeah.
I find that annoying, but I guess he's a heel, so I guess I can kind of allow it. Veer Mahan is coming. It is technically a slogan. It's a slogan Monday Night Raw at this point.
It's so, what, 2.5 months now, almost?
Yeah, it might as well be their subtitle. It's like Raw. Veer Mahan is coming. That's a.
How much you want to bet when he shows up, they're going to job him out?
No, I'm just betting at this point because now it's got to a point that they're probably aware of the fact that it's a meme, and so when he comes in, it's going to be like Brodus Clay.
Maybe, but
no.
He responded on Twitter to this. We're recording this, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know. We're recording this on the 27th, so just in case he pops up on the 27th episode, we haven't seen him yet. He responded recently to a tweet where they had like just tweeted out again, Veer Mahan is coming, and he said, yeah, and I'm coming hard.
Well, so Callum's got a point because they've been steering into the skid a lot with these meme things. Like the coexist stuff is now just like an on-screen meme. So I bet you they will do like a Brodus Clay, and he's the Bollywood playboy Veer Mahan, even though it doesn't fit him at all.
A couple of other ones. Nikki Almost a Superhero. It's just a dumb name. My runner-up is actually The Evolution.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, because it didn't actually end up going anywhere because the one thing she did was bring in Doudrop and then their gimmick ran out after like 3 months together. But the worst, I don't know if you're really going to classify as the slogan, but they tried to run with it for a little while because it was dumb. My Hole.
You know, yeah, I think that's a catchphrase that they had going on for a little bit.
Yeah, so it's just Nia Jax shelling about her hole.
And you know what? I'm going to write that down as one of those that I should have remembered. So it's an honorable mention on my list too, because that was really, really, really
I
bad.
forgot. I didn't know whether that happened in because I didn't know whether that match with Lana happened in December or January, but it did happen in January. And it's just like that. It was just a table match where she tries a leg drop on the apron, lands, and then just immediately starts grabbing and yelling about her hole. And then gets pushed into a table by Lana. Terrible.
And that was like, they spent like months building that up.
Yeah, it could have definitely been in the worst match of the year territory as well. I sure should remember that, especially because I got that catchphrase from there.
Honorable mention to budget cuts. Like that's something we heard.
Oh yeah, that is John Laurinaitis' catchphrase. So yeah,
okay. And not for nothing, but they've also done away with the "We wish you best of luck in your future endeavors." Now they're just like, well, we let go of these people. Don't talk about it. Yeah, it's this was a bad year for that kind of stuff.
they're like, well, you know what? We're not going to give them their customary trash bags, so we're not going to wish them well either.
That was this year too. All the trash bag stuff.
That was this year, or was that last year?
That was this year.
Yeah, it's when Mickey started bringing that stuff up. So yeah, she got released this year. So
this fucking year.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to the whole magical calendar thing, but this year needs to end. Gimmicks we're on next. The actual characters that they're playing. I've got actually a couple good ones, a couple bad ones. You know, a healthy enough list for balancing some things out. Most of them are just sort of meh. You know, a lot of characters aren't really characters per se. Like, you know, what's Cedric Alexander, for instance? He's just a guy. But on my good side, stop me if this is your pick. I, of course, was into the Tony D'Angelo character for a little bit there until it got a little bit too in the wrong direction. I did like Broke Baron Corbin. I'm not as big on Happy Corbin, but the Broke Corbin thing I thought was good. My three favorites that I had been debating about here and there were Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, but I'm ultimately not going to go with that one. I think I went with that last year, but there's just more fun stuff. Really liked my runner-up, the meathead version of Austin Theory, who is just a complete idiot working with the Way. But I'm just going to go Stoner Matt Riddle. Overall, Matt Riddle is one of the most fun people that is in WWE right now, and his gimmick just works.
I was going to go with RK Bro as a package. Like, that was one of the ones that I had considering, just because I like the odd couple thing when it works out well, and Riddle seems to be a master at working these, being the funny guy to the very serious, like, cold-blooded wrestler alongside him. I had Broke Corbin as a potential one as well. Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, Tony D'Angelo as a meme. I like Diamond Mine as a gimmick, but just obviously they've just steered away from it because NXT's not NXT anymore. But the one I'm going to go
away
with
in 2022. How much you want to bet that?
But the thing I am going to go with is something that was a big part of the last few months of NXT, which is millionaire Cameron Grimes.
Very good one.
Cameron Grimes was great throughout the year. The fact that he had his little feud with Ted DiBiase and that also turned him babyface as well, feuding with LA Knight over that as well. I think it's the best thing that he's done his entire time in NXT. And now it's kind of been swept under the rug a little bit, which is a shame. But I think for a while it was one of the most entertaining acts in all of NXT.
I'm going to go with this because I think they're actually using somebody to their strengths. And if they do more with him than what they're doing, then we probably have a miss, but it was a hit this year. I want to say Boogs.
Boogs is good, yeah.
Is a great sidekick. Don't make him more than the sidekick, and we got a winner. But I've enjoyed Boogs this year.
It is funny how easy sometimes things can get over. As simple as Boogs. And people are like, yeah, all right, I'll fucking say that.
This is like, what was Eric Bugenhagen going to really do? He was doing fun stuff on NXT, but it was just this. You can't do much more with him than this. And he's an NXT call-up that's actually worked. For better or worse, you gotta credit that.
He is one of the more successful newcomers to NXT from this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to turn heel on Nakamura, get all serious, cut his hair, and just, let's say, I'm done with the guitar. I've thrown the guitar in the fire. Then have a short feud with Nakamura for 3 weeks, and then we never see him again, and then he's released in June.
Oh, you're forgetting the step of he then tries to be Rick Boogs again after being Richard Boogs or something. And then they pair him up with some other person because they're like, well, you know, I guess we'll just put you in a tag team. And then the tag team will, cease.
Unless Gable leaves.
Yeah. On the worst side of things for gimmicks, there are their fair share. There's the whole Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss thing going kind of nowhere. I had written down whatever Teoman and Rohan Raja are as a unit. Because that took a long time for that to manifest into something. It was just sort of like Rohan Raja really wants Teoman's family to be well off. That just sucked. I wrote down whatever Ember Moon tried to do here and there. Again, Ember's Law. Johnny Drip Drip on that list. It's kind of down to these three for me. I am leaning towards one in particular. But the Retribution stuff at the beginning of the year, real bad. Ultimately, not going to pick that one because that went away pretty fast. Nia Jax flirting with Reggie, that whole thing, I hated that. Just didn't find it funny. But my absolute worst gimmick of the year, Sleepy Wendy Chu. How do they think that this is going to actually go somewhere? You took Mei Ying and you built up this like mystical heel, otherworldly force character that should be able to like destroy people. And then you decided, nah, let's have her take naps. So it's like in the world of professional wrestling, realistically, there should not be gimmicks. If we're going to treat this like reality, it should just be like the Creed brothers, just a bunch of people doing that. It'd be boring as shit, but that's how it should be in real life. And you can kind of get into the whole, like, there's like Conor McGregor types where they're real fighters, but they are kind of dickheads or they're whatever. So like a character like The Miz makes sense, or somebody like Edge right now who's kind of like, I have been gone for so long and I want to make up for it. I'm a veteran, blah, blah, blah. There's always a certain level of disbelief when you get into like the more Undertaker type characters and Kane and stuff, but that's part of the fun. But where is the ultimate goal here for this girl wakes up from a nap? How does that translate to an in-ring thing? Is she just gonna like fall asleep and have like narcolepsy in the ring or something?
Well,
like
maybe it'll be like, how Festus once the bell rang? Maybe it'll be like, you woke me up from my nap and now I didn't get my full sleep, so now I'm gonna murder you in the ring.
God, I just imagine she's gone soon enough and we don't even see her wrestle once. And
how terrible is that though? Karen Q was getting a lot of work at Ring of Honor and a lot of work elsewhere. And they bring her into NXT. She gets injured. They come up with this cool gimmick for her. And they drop it completely. And now she's sleeping at the Capitol Wrestling Center, which I guess isn't even that anymore.
That's my pick. Wendy Chu is in need of nap time.
I'll piggyback off of that and say my runner-up is Tian Sha, because Shawn Michaels hyped it and then they didn't do anything with it. But my overall has to be Alexa Bliss. Not The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, but Alexa Bliss, because it's so bad that she took this guy's gimmick, ran it into the ground, failed to foam at the mouth, and then disappeared. At this point, I'm hoping she shows up in the Rumble. She's just the goddess again, and we never talk about the Fiend ever again.
I think that's a little harsh. She didn't take the Fiend's gimmick.
Well, they gave it to her, but you know what I mean. I'm not saying, well, the person behind the character is sabotaged the gimmick.
No, of course not. But it's just a case of her gimmick. Well, they decided to move away from it when they decided they weren't going to do the Fiend stuff anymore, and she gained possession of a hypnotic doll, which I think is arguably worse than the Fiend. But so I'm not saying it's wrong that she'd be up for this one. I'm just like, I don't see her as a mini Fiend. I see her as a completely separate, terrible character. But there's plenty of. I had so many listed down as bad. Here, I've got Duke Hudson, because at the end of the day, he's a poker player that doesn't actually do well at poker.
True.
So what's the whole gimmick around that? The Grizzled Young Scammers.
I hate that so much. Whatever they're fucking
doing now. Yeah. Tony Storm, child of the 80s, even though she was probably born in the 90s.
Yeah, she
was born in the 90s. They were very clear about this. It's her mother won't let go of the 80s, so that's somehow her issue.
Yeah.
She was born in 95. God,
yeah,
I feel old.
Than me.
Mm-hmm. a Nigerian Prince, Apollo Crews, and Commander Aziz. Bearcat Lee.
Oh, that's a good one.
King Corbin. Before the Broke stuff. Broke stuff was good, but just him being a king was just like, no, why is he even there? Elias, and then followed with
The Death of Elias.
Death of Elias goes nowhere.
American hero Jackson Riker. I think I'm going to go with. I almost went with Nikki ASH as well because again, that's just a dumb character. To be fair, I don't care if it's a dumb character. I don't care whether she came up with it or wrote it or not. It's a dumb character. But it's got to be Karrion Kross on the main roster. Just this whole sadomasochistic leather daddy thing that he had going. And then they obviously tried to renege on that and tried to give him Sean O'Hare's old gimmick. And then they did that for like 2 promo segments and then completely dropped him. So, yeah, it's just a case of like he doesn't even get a chance to really showcase what the gimmick was, but that's how badly it was received and how badly that entire run altogether went.
It was shit.
Yeah.
Just pure shit. Yeah. Poor guy. Here's the thing that everybody was coming here for: the best and the worst heel turn or face turn of the year. Again, as we say every year, your best and your worst could be one or the other. You don't have to do best heel turn and best face turn, worst heel turn and worst face turn. You can pick either one. So you got 4 potential options you can go with here. I have a whole list, of course, on smarkoutmoment.com, tracking that all the time. Nowhere near as many that people think that there should be, because every time somebody like coughs, it's like is that a babyface turn? That kind of thing.
I don't know. Lean into it, Tony.
Yeah, well, if anyone coughs now, it's definitely a heel turn.
That's true. We have everything from at the beginning of the year, Isaiah Swerve Scott turned heel on Jake Atlas, and Billy Kay was kind of going back and forth and stuff. Timothy Thatcher had turned babyface to join up with Tommaso Ciampa for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, etc., etc. All the way up until, at the very least, when we were recording this, the most recent one was that most recent one that I think is 100% confirmed was Xia Li turning babyface, making the save on Naomi. But it seems like AJ Styles or Omos might be turning. We haven't really seen exactly how they're going to go there, because Styles had the thing with Grayson Waller.
Yeah, he looks like a babyface on Tuesday, but he's heel on Monday.
Yeah, so that's all over the place. That's why I'm not going to constitute that one way or another. My best, I'm going with Adam Cole turning on Kyle O'Reilly.
That was a good one. I mean, now they're together again, which is fantastic, but definitely one of the better turns of the year. My best, because I really enjoyed where this went for 2 weeks, and I thought it was a great angle for 2 weeks. Shayna Baszler beats the shit out of Nia Jax. I thought that was great. Unfortunately, they didn't capitalize, but I think in hindsight, they actually wrote off both Eva and Nia with injury angles, and it looked great, and it established Shayna as a killer. Only a killer again in a week.
See, now on a technicality, I would say that doesn't count, because she went from heel to still heel.
Yeah.
So
even though that's a turn for a team, it's not a heel
fine,
turn.
Then babyface Brock, because Brock is great as a babyface.
I mentioned it already, but I'll go Cameron Grimes. Turning babyface by saving Ted DiBiase from being attacked by LA Knight.
That damn Ted DiBiase.
That damn, yeah.
On the worst side of things, the 2 that stood out to me the most from when I was making up my list before, and maybe if I thought more deeply about it, I might be more inclined to do the ones that really just were inconsequential, like somebody like Yulisa Leon being a heel and a babyface on any particular week, or that kind of garbage that they've been doing on NXT, where it's like, well, that guy's a heel for 3 weeks, and then we're gonna make him back to babyface and whatever. The two, though, that really just annoyed me were Buddy Murphy wanting to rejoin Seth Rollins. He just decides he's no longer a part of the whole Mysterio thing, and he's just kind of like, can I be your friend again? And it went absolutely nowhere. Or the one that I'm going with even more so, Shane McMahon's Braun thing for no reason at all. Why did Shane...
Was he already a heel, or did he turn
Yeah, I thought it was already heel before.
I had him down as a babyface. I don't remember exactly what he was doing before that, but he was...
Why was he
His last
there?
feud was with Kevin Owens, because he got kicked out of SmackDown. And he was a
he's
heel in that one.
You can't count Raw Underground as a babyface, right?
Well, that still would count if he is doing that. But yeah, those are the two that I had down. But there's been a lot of like just sort of nonsense, like NXT in particular. It's just kind of, we're doing whatever we want to do this week. You know, Ari Sterling is a heel for 2 episodes, that kind of crap. Any stand out to you guys?
I don't have any. I've obviously quite a lot listed, but none of them actually from NXT. And that probably may just be down to the fact that I just don't care about NXT anymore at all. But I have like Nakamura turning babyface, because I don't think there was really any real catalyst to him turning babyface. So the fact that he just shook hands with Daniel Bryan. Sheamus turning heel on McIntyre, which was meant to lead to, you assumed, him getting a title opportunity, but The Miz ended up taking the title, and so Sheamus just fought McIntyre for no reason.
I want to say that's also on my runner-up list because it went nowhere.
John Morrison turns babyface because he got beat up by The Miz.
And then he meditates. And then he meditates
Yeah.
for 3 weeks.
Yeah, because it's just always the worst for me. It's like, you're supposed to... The guy turns babyface because the heel beat him up. It's like, that shouldn't make you like that person. That's just... Yeah, just bad wrestling logic for me. Shotzi Blackheart turns heel.
That's gone nowhere.
Point? Yeah, what's the point of that? And also, she shouldn't have turned, because Sasha was a heel. Why is Sasha a babyface now? Again, it's just all over the place with this stuff. Got Doudrop turning babyface and then turning heel. Just for the heel one in particular is like, she's in the right. She's completely right that Bianca Belair keeps getting too many title opportunities, and so I think she was too justified in that. The two that really stand out to me are Jackson Riker turning babyface, because no one likes Jackson Riker.
Yeah.
Everybody hated Jackson Riker, and like nobody wanted him to turn babyface, but for some reason they wanted to do so. But I think the worst, I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley, because she has gone back and forth. She's now currently a babyface, but a much worse babyface than she was when she was like super hot in NXT. And yeah, she came into the company, she turned heel for seemingly no reason to go up against Asuka, and then seemed to waver constantly between, okay, sometimes she was teaming with Asuka, then she was beating up Asuka, then she was alongside Charlotte, but against Charlotte, and working with Nikki Ash, but against Nikki Ash. So she's just really just gone back and forth constantly between the two of them, and I just think it's really withered away just her overall character and appeal.
I do appreciate that, because I've stated how much Rhea Ripley has fallen for me.
Mm-hmm.
Doudrop was another that I had on my list, because why is she a heel? Even though, like, yes, she's in the right, but why is she a heel? But I think my pick is Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch was your top babyface everything. And then she left to experience the joy of motherhood. And then you decide, well, we need a villain. Let's just have her turn heel by screwing over Bianca, and she'll just be a heel. And it's like, that's so silly. Imagine if when Austin got run over by the car, if the first thing he did when coming back was shake Vince's hand. Like, why would you kill your biggest babyface just for the sake of having another you people heel? What is the purpose?
Is it just living vicariously of these are the frustrations that we have? Like when she says, you people don't know what you want, it's just Vince being like, I'm going to make the person that you like tell you that to like scold
That's
you.
exactly what it is.
you know?
And now, granted, that comes from a place of truth because Becky, it can say, you were cheering me and now you booed me just because I beat Bianca. But it's like, no, they're booing you because you beat her in 5 seconds and made her look like a fool. And once again, wrestling doesn't make any sense because we all know it's a scripted product. You tell us that every chance you get. Why do you script your fans to be upset?
Mm-hmm.
Why? And it's not even like, well, that's heat. It's just, no, we're mad because this is a lame product.
Yeah, there's I think a lot of people lose track of the difference between legitimate heat and go away heat. And upsetting the fans so that they get annoyed and they don't want to watch anymore is not the same thing as like, oh, that darn heel. I can't wait to see that babyface beat them, And then everybody goes, oh, it's different these days because, modern audience. No, you don't see other TV shows do that. It's not like Spider-Man No Way Home was like, let's specifically set up things to piss people off and that'll get people wanting to watch the next MCU movie, like.
Right, it's not like they literally said, hey, that thing that you all thought was going to happen in the trailers? Just kidding. Like, you're stupid for having faith in us. Ha ha ha. Like, no, you give the people what they want.
Put smiles on faces, right? We make movies, pal. Let's go to the best and worst title reign of the year. They don't have full control over how everything works out, but they pretty much should. We had some good ones. We had some bad ones. A couple of ones that I have been liking or that I did like. They're over already. I was a fan of Santos Escobar winning the Cruiserweight title. I dug the whole $1 Million Championship set of feuds. In particular, I wrote down the Ted DiBiase title reign just because of the way that he got it back. I thought that was great. Damian Priest has had a really good run with the United States Championship, all things considered. And ultimately, I'm going to go between either RK Bro with the Raw Tag Team titles or Roman Reigns with the Universal. To me, they're almost kind of tied because I think that both of them, in theory, work better than they do on paper when you look at like who have they been fighting. RK Bro, they don't really have a whole lot of competition. So at the very least, if Roman Reigns has that he beat Edge and Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar and whatnot, leaning a little bit more towards Roman Reigns.
My pick is Roman Reigns because he's the only champion in the company that matters. And has his character been as fun as it was when he first turned? No. But he's the only champion that matters. And he has beaten Edge, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, even Lesnar. They're building him up for hopefully something great and not just dropping it to Brock. And also this too, not just dropping it to Drew. They're hopefully building him towards something really special.
So there's some good ones. I've got Walter as NXT UK champion, Meiko Satomura as NXT UK Women's Champion, done well. Definitely RK Bros there. Bianca Belair as the SmackDown Women's Champion, up until the point that she lost it, was going pretty well, even though she was primarily just feuding with Bayley and Carmella. I have Damian Priest as US Champion, but my choice is Bobby Lashley as WWE Champion.
Another good option.
Because he held it for a decent length of time. They had him go on a bit of a story arc through the middle of it where he kind of changed up his character a little bit. Obviously beat The Miz to win it, defended it against McIntyre multiple times, defended it against Kofi Kingston in dominant fashion, beat Goldberg at SummerSlam for it as well. Ended up only dropping it because of the Big E cash in, and could very easily find himself be WWE Champion at the start of 2022 as well.
Again, I'll say it. I'm really banking on they give it to Lashley and we finally get Lashley and Lesnar.
Going over to the
We're going to the worst
side of things. I was double checking. I was like, wait, my list went in a completely different fashion, and I'm like, wait, why do I have worst cameo appearance up? That's just my scroll mouse kind of got messed up. You got people like A-Kid with the Heritage Cup. What did he do? He lost it. That's all he did.
Well,
You got Bronson Reed with the North American Championship. He won it. A couple weeks later, he is supposed to be going up to the main roster, and instead they get rid of it and fire him. So it's like, what was the point in that? Nikki ASH, she wins the Raw Women's Championship through Money in the Bank cash in, fails to really do anything, including win normal matches. She's only winning by like count out, and even then she's losing some of those, and then she drops it immediately. Every NXT Women's Tag Team Champion, that belt switched hands more than any belt except for the 24/7 Championship this year. NXT.
I think all the teams aren't even together anymore, are they?
Let's see. Well, technically speaking, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark haven't split, but Samoa Joe's NXT title reign went nowhere just because of an injury. Asuka had a shit Raw Women's Championship run this year because they just waited and they didn't want to have her go into WrestleMania as the champion, clearly, and then she just lost. But ultimately, I'm going to go the Nikki ASH route.
It's a fair choice.
So there's a couple for me because I think, like Tony said, everyone with the NXT Women's Tag titles, I think the North American title this year suffered because if you just look at the individuals who were champion this year and how many of them are even still with the company. But I've got to say, Rhea Ripley is Raw Women's Champion. She came in, she won the belt at Mania, and it was immediately like, Charlotte's back, and you're not going to be a star. And they just continued to bury her, and now she's just every other person on the roster, and I hate that.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. Nikki ASH Raw Women's have got. There's a potential Charlotte Flair as the Raw Women's Champion because she only held it for a day before dropping it to Nikki and then winning it back afterwards. And then that reign ended with her swapping the titles with Becky Lynch. Isaiah Scott in particular as North American Champion, just because I think he only defended it once.
Who is it?
Yeah, defended it successfully against Santos and then lost it on the cash-in afterwards. I actually have Roman Reigns Universal Champion listed under the worst.
Wow.
Because that reign has done absolutely nothing for anybody outside of Roman. And it hasn't really done anything for Roman because everyone knew that Roman was the top guy in the company anyway. And it hasn't elevated anybody up to his level. And I don't think it will elevate anybody up to his level either because they'll just... Realistically, he'll drop the title to either Brock Lesnar, who doesn't need that rub, or he'll drop it to The Rock, who doesn't need that rub. So it's really not going to benefit anybody in the long term.
I want to give a shout out to Big E as well, because even though he's still in the middle of it, I really feel like we're going to look back on it and go, that happened, but it wasn't anything special. It's just good for you, man. You can say you were champion.
It feels kind of like a title reign that's happening for the sake of having it on the books. Yeah.
But I almost tempted to go with a tie for this one, who I've actually gone with though, because my ties are the Women's Tag Team Championship as a whole and the Intercontinental Championship as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
Because those two titles, I mean, you can say what you want about the NXT Women's title, but that came into effect this year. And at the end of the day, we all knew it was going to be, there was no reason to have the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. So I kind of just try and keep that one out of my mind. But the actual women's tag team titles, who I guess we've kind of got to the point now that we've all in the mindset of, they decided to put them together because Bayley and Sasha asked for it and then decided, yeah, we don't actually want these. And they just have coasted along ever since with meaningless reigns and meaningless matches surrounding them. And it's now been held by Carmella and Zelina Vega because I guess give them something to do. But the Intercontinental title, who I think between us, we all kind of think is one of our favourite championships in history.
Yeah.
Just, it went from Big E at the start of the year, and he was just exclusively defending it against Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews wins it, exclusively defends it against Big E until he just doesn't either appear or defend it. Then he loses it randomly to Shinsuke Nakamura, who has only defended it once since then.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
God damn it.
Across his
WWE.
entire title reign, he has had one title defense. And the likelihood is, well, he's going to defend against Sami Zayn next. The likelihood is that, and that's going to happen, what
day
day
one,
is
right?
Friday? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's day one, isn't it? Yeah. So the likelihood is, the start of the new year will be like Sami Zayn as Intercontinental Champion. That means that the Intercontinental title reign, the Intercontinental Championship probably out throughout the entirety. I'd have to double check to actually find out, but I could probably guess that the Intercontinental title in the entirety of 2021 on TV and pay-per-view has been defended probably a half a dozen times.
I think you'd be correct, because it wasn't a good year for that belt, and that's a really good show.
Let's
So
see,
yeah, I'd probably go
is
with
this
that over
on
the women's one.
Cage Match? Is that an easy thing? CageMatch.com. Shout out to everybody.
I don't know if it's if you could search by title belt.
Title matches by year. Let's see. Intercontinental title match. All right. So there has been 14 this year.
Is that including house shows?
No, all TV shows.
Okay.
Except
Wow.
for... Wait. So there's all TV shows except Fastlane, Night 2 of WrestleMania. Wow. It was only on 2 pay-per-views. That's it? Yeah. And it seems that it
It might have
hasn't
been
been...
defended a few times on SmackDown and stuff like that by Apollo Crews.
Yeah, they're all SmackDown defenses, and for the most part, all of them are Big E and
Yeah.
Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
It's
Well, have a look. So since June, there have been 2 title matches. They've both been Nakamura against Apollo
And
Crews.
Apollo.
Nakamura winning it against Apollo Crews, and then Nakamura beating Apollo Crews, defending it against him.
yeah, he the last one was it
24th September.
September 24th.
Yep.
For one of them.
Yeah.
God, I hate when they do this kind of stuff. How do you lose track?
So in the second half of the year, it's been defended twice. So like that just goes to show. Look, every single Intercontinental title match this year has featured, except for 2, has featured Apollo Crews.
Yeah, I was just looking at that myself. This is Apollo Crews' belt this year. But like, look at the match length too. Some of these are like from 2 to 5 minutes long.
Well,
This is a bad year for the IC title.
Look at even just the overall list of the people, not even just going like, oh, Apollo Crews is everyone. Everybody in any fashion who has been involved in the Intercontinental Championship this year. Big E, Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Kevin Owens.
Yep.
There's only 5 people.
Mhm.
5 people for the entire year for 3 title reigns.
Good job they got rid of so many people then.
Like, there's not even like Nakamura beat Baron Corbin or Big E defended it against Chad Gable or something. Like,
It's a complete difference with like a lot of the US stuff, because like the US title gets like mixed around a little bit with people, especially under Damian Priest's watch. But it's just, yeah, I just had to go with the championship as a whole, because realistically, all 3 of the people that held the title this year didn't do a great job with it, or they didn't have particularly memorable reigns. But as a championship as a whole, it's just been absolutely tarnished this year.
well,
Terrible.
look for the United States title to have another better run this year when they give it to Gable Steveson.
Woo!
You know, I
do it.
haven't even thought about that. But that's really good.
They'll give it to him, and it'll mean nothing. And let's go over to the cameo appearances. This might be the last year that we do this. I think I'm getting rid of this category for next year.
I think you should.
There used to be a time frame when we had a lot more legends make comebacks, and this year nowhere near as many in comparison. So I'm thinking we just get rid of it. If it's a particularly great moment of the year, it could be on the best and worst SmackDown moment of the year, that kind of thing. But on the list, which you can see on the roster page, because I used to keep track of it that way, not going to probably do that anymore. We only had a few. I think the last one that I had tracked was from the Throwback SmackDown episode with Teddy Long. My best, I would have gone Christian at the Royal Rumble, but then he continued to wrestle for the rest of the year on AEW. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know if that really counts.
Oh, it counts as a WWE cameo.
It should in that way. He should have just been a part of the roster, but I'm going to give the Ted DiBiase stuff.
That is also what I'm going with, because that was entertaining and, unlike Goldberg, helpful.
Yeah, just go free for free. It's Ted DiBiase.
Yeah. And my worst, I wrote down pointless Raw Legends Night cameos. We had Hulk Hogan, Teddy Long, Alicia Fox, Tatanka, Mickey James, Sergeant Slaughter, Ric Flair, Big Show, Jimmy Hart, Mark Henry, IRS, Molly Holly, Melina, Tori Wilson, The Boogeyman, Ron Simmons, Jeff Jarrett, Booker T, and Goldberg. And almost all of them were like just standing ringside.
For Goldberg at the end.
Yeah.
I will say that thanks to the internet and the people who put more story effort into WWE television, WWE, Randy Orton belittled Henry and Big Show, and I think Christian too, and they all went to AEW, which I just think is funny.
Yeah, everybody for a little while there, they're like, oh, Sean's going to go there, because it was like Flair left, and Henry, and Big Show, and Christian, and Matt Hardy was another one. He took out Matt Hardy.
Yeah. My worst cameo, I already said his name, Goldberg. He did nothing for me this year, and specifically like his stuff in January leading up to the Drew match wasn't good. He wasn't even in his regular gear for the Drew match. Goldberg had a really good run in 2017. I was a big fan. I'm ready for Goldberg to stop.
I'm just going to echo Tony. I just wrote Raw Legends Night.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, at the end of the day, it's just a grab at the moment to try and just secure a decent rating for one night.
Wasn't that like a random announcement too? They were just like, oh, and hey, here's Hogan's going to be here.
Yeah. And they did nothing because, of course, WWE doesn't put in the effort. They, what's the phrase? Slap lipstick on a pig, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you put lipstick on a pig, but it's still pig.
Yeah. You can, doesn't matter how much of the best ice cream in the world you put in there, if it's still got a turd in it, it's still a turd sundae. That kind of thing.
It's one of the reasons why I like the day one stuff, because I think if you're going to do something at the beginning of the year, it should feel important. And this show does feel more important than, hey, it's Raw Legends Night, or hey, it's Throwback SmackDown. So I would prefer this format going forward as opposed to let's just coast until about 2 weeks before the Rumble.
Let's go to we don't have best and the worst on this category. We just have most. Most shocking moment of the year. What was the biggest surprise, good or bad, doesn't matter, that happened for you this year? Down to two for me. One that I had written down that I was just like, I can't ultimately come to this, but it was like, as far as like scripting things, that was really shocking was Kaylee Ray retaining over Piper Niven. I thought for sure Piper Niven was going to win that title. And it was just like a matter of time that, okay, they finally got around to doing the match. Title's going to change. And then we're off to the races. And when she retained, I was completely shocked. But the two that I'm debating about are the constant releases. Because every time that happens this year, it's just, oh my God, another, whatever thing. And the rain delay at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think that would work. I've loads of these. NXT being rebranded as NXT 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a bit of a shock. The whole Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Kyle O'Reilly leaving. Becky Lynch return, because I just didn't imagine it was going to happen at SummerSlam. I imagined it was coming, but I didn't think it was going to happen on that show, especially the way they did it. They actually made you feel like, oh my god, it's a huge shock. They actually worked the crowd, which was good. I think I'd probably go just try to keep it within some kind of like scripted realm at this point in time. I'll go Christian's return at the Royal Rumble.
Very cool.
That's also mine because, yeah, that was so special, and he got to be there to see Edge win the match, and then he goes and wrestles like he's never missed a day. Christian is so underappreciated.
He really is.
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, Christian deserves that one because we didn't really give Christian as much stuff for the AEW stuff. So,
all right, let's go to the best and worst markout moment of the year. These are just generally speaking. What's kind of like your favorite thing that's happened this year? It should be like the last award that we do, but it is what it is. Things that made you happy as a fan, things you were most disappointed with in WWE, that kind of deal. For my best, I had 3 things written down. As per usual, stop me if this is your pick. Finally being back in front of crowds was one. Just to be able to like have that feeling again and not be in a warehouse, even though we're not in the warehouse, but we're watching it from the warehouse thing. Xavier Woods winning King of the Ring is one of my top best things of the year. Huge fan of them, not only just bringing it back, but actually going with the person that makes the most sense and not just being like, we got you, haha. It's actually, Commander Aziz and, or something like, I don't know. But I'm ultimately going Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks crying at the beginning of their match at WrestleMania.
I'm going to stop you right there because that's mine as well. That audience and their ability took a shitty build and turned it into a moment that nobody can ever forget. So my money is on Sasha and Bianca at WrestleMania 37.
I had that definitely listed as one of my ones. I also had Edge winning the Royal Rumble. This is just a cool moment. I was a big fan, even though I kind of like said some negative things about Roman's thing, I was a big fan of him pinning both Edge and Daniel Bryan in the main event of Night 2 of WrestleMania 37. Just a cool visual about it, in double stacking them up. But I'm going to go with Ilya Dragunov beating Walter.
Another cool moment.
Yeah, because it's like a true David and Goliath giant slaying. And yeah, just having the title change hands after was like 800 plus days with Walter reigning. Obviously, COVID interruption aside, it was still an epic reign, and having him finish him off like that, especially with a sleeper hold thing, and the way that it finished off with Walter just rapidly tapping out once he got it into a good position, it was just it's a great moment.
Now the worst, I did have the Nia Jax my whole thing.
Yeah.
I also had Shayna Baszler with a Lily.
Yeah, very bad stuff.
Remember that god
awful
awful
segment?
segment?
Eva Marie trip on this one, yeah.
Eva Marie trip is on here. I ultimately do got to go just with releases though, because we know how that goes.
Specifically, getting the heads up the night before the Braun one. Of like, hey, this is what's going around. And you just go, Braun was just in the WWE title match. There's no way. And if I had to pinpoint a specific one, I'd say Bray Wyatt getting released. That dude should be one of your cornerstone talents by now. And you just let him go unceremoniously. It's like, what is happening there?
I think the most disappointing one for me was the set of releases where Keith Lee went. Because at that point, it's like Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, and there was a series of other ones too, but it was like, all right, you're just actively getting rid of the people that you're building for the future, or like that could be world champion material right now. Like Keith Lee, if he would have won the Royal Rumble, I think people would have accepted it. I think people would have seen him as a potential guy that could have beaten Brock Lesnar, or he could have even had a good shot about beating Roman Reigns or something. And it was just like, all right, you just want to get rid of everybody. Just do it then. You know, wipe the company clean, let them go elsewhere, start over with your athletes that you think you can make into WWE superstars. And that was a very like throw in the towel moment for me.
Oh, obviously the right answer is all the releases, so that'll be the one I go with. But I also had stuff like the WrestleMania rain delay, the whole Jeff Hardy incident. Like, regardless of what's what people's perspectives on it are different and stuff like that, but the whole incident was weird. The finish to Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's up there.
Yeah, because that was just terrible. And the Raw and SmackDown women's title switching.
Yeah, that sucked.
Because it was a bad segment in concept anyway, and then the handling of it made it even worse and even more crazy. So, but yeah, all the releases, the 80 people that were released this year, definitely should be the winner for the worst moment.
I think it was 84 the last time that I checked.
Jesus Christ.
Might have been 82. And I was over 80. I had counted over 80, but that's, of course, not even counting people behind the scenes because we don't know how many of those.
And then that's not even counting like names like Cole and Gargano that didn't get released but just left.
But yeah, I'd probably say a mixture of that. I think realistically, some of the actual worst market is people behind the scenes and people in the WWE offices that got laid off this year, because the majority of people who are like workers, actual wrestlers, will probably find work and opportunities elsewhere, or will decide that they don't want to do this anymore. In the case of like maybe someone like a Bo Dallas or something like that. But those people that are actually working in office environments, I mean, I assume they'll find somewhere else, but they have a lot more at stake than most of the wrestlers that would have been released.
Yeah, that's why, as a catch-all, I'm just going releases, because this year, you know, we thought that we were in the clear for a lot of this. It was like, you know, tons of people get released in 2020, and we're like, all right, well, you know, it's a pandemic, it sucks, but like we can kind of understand it. And then this year, it's like, hey, look at that. On the same day, we're just going to fire a whole bunch of people again. And we go, God damn, that's really ridiculous and that's awful. But maybe that's going to be the end of it. And then it seemed like it was like every 3 weeks, they just released a handful of people. I really hope 2022 does not keep that trend going. But I'm going to be watching out for, was it April 15th? Is that what it is?
Yep.
We're going to be like, it sounds awful, but this is how we need to approach it based off the last 2 years. We're going to be ready to go for a live mailbag on that day. At
this point, it'll be a Friday, I believe. And if they do it again, then it's just, okay, there's something about that particular day that says we got to cut people on this day.
It's got to be a tax thing. Yeah. And if it's third year in a row.
Or 3 times a habit. Like that's,
yeah.
Yeah, there's something there.
So let's round out the writing awards with the best and the worst storyline. These are the ones they actually do have control over, as much as you would think that they don't, based off of the way that some of these have been playing out this year. Because most, like I would say a good like 80% of the storylines from this year didn't have an actual conclusion. They just sort of disappeared. So there are plenty worst and very few that I think are actually good. But my good versions, the only one that I had written down really was just this gestation and the continuing of the RK Bro tag team. Just that story of Riddle wants to tag with Randy, and now they're to the point with, you know, the bros.
My favorite thing about that story is it was supposed to be Randy Orton and Braun Strowman.
Really?
On an episode of Raw. Yeah, it was supposed to be Randy Orton and Braun Strowman. I believe
it was a tag team.
They were supposed
to feud for a little bit.
They were supposed to like, yeah, they were just supposed to wrestle, and I think Orton nixed it, and they were like, "All right, you want to do this thing with Riddle?" And he's like, "Yep." And that's been what he's done all year, and I guarantee that'll be his WrestleMania match. My best storyline, just because it was something that I wanted to see as a kid. Well, not as a kid, but like when Edge retired, I never thought I'd see him wrestle. So I'm going to go with Edge having the road to WrestleMania, him being featured so heavily, and everything that led to with like Rollins and stuff. So I think Edge is 2021 if I could. I'd say that whole thing was booked very well this year.
Yeah, I'd say that there is like a couple of options at least. One, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. This is a decent feud. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai's break up, and now like they've been feuding ever since then. But they started off the year as well in the first couple of months as tag champions, and then the decline since then. Edge and Seth Rollins, the whole RK Bro thing. I almost put it as like a joke thing. Mustafa Ali and Ricochet.
Main event feud.
Yeah, because they were
good.
they were doing all the stuff on main event, and apparently it was getting good reviews from the 5 people that watch it.
And apparently it's something that Ali pitched directly to Vince. He said, "Give me a main event," and Vince said, "All right, let's see what you can do."
He said, "What?"
He said, "Give me main event."
No, I mean, Vince McMahon's like, "What? What show? What's that called?"
But I'm going to go with, and again, I was spoken about this a few times, but just reinforce it. The whole Cameron Grimes and LA Knight, the whole thing of him becoming a millionaire with Dogecoin or whatever and stuff like that, and
So good.
and him then feuding with Ted DiBiase over this stuff, and then forming a pact with him by feuding with LA Knight over the $1 million championship. Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
The worst. Yeah, there's too many to name, and we've talked a lot about them. So I'm going to name the one that I had written down that I said there can't be worse than this. And there's been some that have been just kind of like on the same level as bad, but nothing that I thought deserved to win more than this. And this was very early on in the year. So I was just like, I put some asterisks down and I was just like, I think I can't possibly get worse than that. The whole Lacey Evans is pregnant thing.
Oh my God.
That was this year.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
It was, if you remember, at the beginning of the year, Charlotte Flair is feuding with Lacey over Ric Flair seemingly and seemingly not fucking Lacey Evans and getting her pregnant because that's going to help Charlotte's career or something. Like, just... And it was supposed to lead to a WrestleMania match.
Where was that supposed to go?
Seemingly that. Like, it seemed like they wanted Charlotte to beat Asuka on the road to WrestleMania and for Lacey to fight Flair at Mania with, like, Ric Flair involved, like, special guest referee or something.
See, I thought it differently. I thought that, I think the whole pregnancy thing was just because Lacey did actually become pregnant. And so they had to pivot for that thing. I think they were going to do
that wouldn't have happened. She would have gotten pregnant or said it on TV. But it would have been like, hey, there's seemingly something going on here.
Oh yeah, it definitely was meant to be like a romance angle between the two of them. And then I thought Lacey was going to be Asuka for the women's title, and then Charlotte would win it back at WrestleMania.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was just straight up trash. I hated every part of it.
Oh, there's so many. I've got too many listed, Rob. Have you got like an easy one?
Yeah, I do, and I've mentioned it already, but specifically Bliss and Lily and everything that they did with that whole angles, especially the Shayna Baszler stuff, the stuff where like she set Randy Orton on fire at the beginning of this year. I remember explaining this to somebody who's never seen wrestling at the time, saying, yeah, I'm writing an article about this one possessed, like, chick burning this guy on behalf of this demonic Mr. Rogers. Like, it was one of those angles that makes you go, what is it exactly that I do for a living?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go with that, because that was embarrassing.
Yeah, I've got quite a list, so I'm going to have to just, like, I'm almost going to judge it based on your guys' reactions to some of these ones, just to see which one I decide to go with. But Big E versus Apollo Crews throughout the year was just lame. I'm probably not the worst one, but it's like, yeah, it just went on way too long, and the matches were not great at all. Nia Jax and Lana was at the start of the year still. It was still
Yep.
a carryover from 2020, so it
My
was
whole-
still financing. Yeah, all that stuff. Damian Priest against The Miz, because that seemed to go on forever and ever. Obviously, he had the Bad Bunny match, which was good, but everything that followed it was just kept going. Like, why are they still feuding with each other? It's like pretty much Damian Priest threw The Miz out of the Royal Rumble, and then they spent the first 5 months of his time on the main roster just feuding with The Miz. Elias and Jackson Riker, because that just, again, it was pretty short, but it was just, why are they doing that stuff? Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal feuded leading into a SummerSlam match.
Yeah,
this
you
year.
know what though? They killed it early, so I can't be too mad at that.
I still have, and you guys will disagree with this one, but I have the whole just Roman Reigns as Universal Champion again here,
I understand it.
because he takes up way too much time on TV. This whole it like hasn't built up anybody up to the new level. There's still nobody outside of Brock seemingly that feels right to take the title off of Roman. So they clearly haven't achieved anything on that front. You have the whole build to Survivor Series 2021 is just like, oh god, we had this crown jewel thing happening, and we'll just announce all of the team members on Twitter, because we don't want to do qualifying match on TV. But then will do qualifying match on TV, but it's to take the places of the people we've already announced. But I think I have to go with the whole Randy Orton themed stuff. Actually, no. Randy Orton themed is my runner-up. My one is Eva Marie and Doudrop, or Eva Marie's just return in general.
You know what though? Never a bad time to say screw you, Tony, for putting into the air.
Yeah, the hell.
Bean is gonna suck thing. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, but the whole Eva Marie Doudrop thing is like, Eva Marie's return is like, oh, she's gonna be the diva character, and some people were kind of like excited about that prospect. Like, oh, she's gonna be a diva in this women's revolution era, and we're gonna see how that plays out. But how it actually played out is if she brings in Doudrop to be a heavy. Not like, I mean that as a silly pun, but if it's like her as a backup or whatever, and then they start feuding pretty much the week afterwards. Like, they lose a match, and then immediately they're at loggerheads with each other. And then for some reason, Doudrop continues to be Eva Marie's friend and backup, even though Eva Marie just completely like degrades her throughout the entire time and takes credit for any time that she wins matches. And then they break up at SummerSlam with Doudrop just, taking her jacket and then just preening around for a little bit. And then they have 2 awful matches, and Doudrop's turned heel a couple of weeks afterwards when Eva Marie's released. Like, a whole Eva Marie return was completely pointless, and it served absolutely nothing but to create bad television.
Well, let's go into the fact that Cal hit the nail on the head with the spread to be air heavy. Oh wait, no, I don't mean it like that, but like, that's kind of what they were doing. They wanted to do diva plus-sized girl, and then they realized, oh wait, we just can't do that. I guess we'll have them do something else, and they never figured it out.
They completely forgot that they were in 2021. They thought that they were in 2007 with the whole like Piggy James type of shit.
But I thought there could be some fun aspects of it, of like the idea that, oh, Eva Marie has. I didn't even mind the pairing realistically, but just the way the whole pairing was handled. Like, if they'd just done, okay, these guys are working together for a little while, you could lead to some convoluted situation where Eva Marie, like, Doudrop wins the women's title but gives it to Eva Marie, and then you could tell. Again, it might not have been everybody's cup of tea, but at least that would have been something, or something different, or something interesting. But the fact is, they didn't actually do anything. They brought her back and then immediately had her feuding with the one person that she was paired with. It's just ridiculous.
And I think that Eva could have had a future in wrestling, but at this point, I don't ever want to see her in wrestling again, kind of thing.
Yeah, also part of the reason why I want to do it is the fact that, like, well, she's released now, so it's like that was just a 6-month thing, which had absolutely 0 point to it, and there's absolutely 0 chance of ever redeeming it.
And I swear to God, she was hired for like.
Yeah, she'd been hired like the summer beforehand. I think people were starting saying that she's already been re-signed. So yeah, that was just a year's worth of money. That maybe that's the reason why Nick Khan is so is so forthright with releases now. It's just like they just looked at it for like, we had her on contract for over a year and she did absolutely nothing. You just need to get rid of people quicker. It's just that's his attitude now.
Yeah, then they overcompensate and they're like, let's get rid of this person immediately. We just signed him yesterday. Yeah, so fire him. Yeah, all right. Well, that's the set of writing awards. Again, we're going to continue on here. Part 3 coming up next with the programming awards. Last time that we're going to be doing that section. And as we have been doing this, we want to know what you have to say. So drop your comments below. Tell us your picks and what you agree with, what you disagree with about what we have to say. If you are listening on the audio only feeds, we'll be back in a moment. If you're listening on the YouTube stuff, click on that next part, part 3, and we will see you there, everybody.